You probably thought this was going to be a movie. I thought this was going to be a movie. Right up until I read my own comment section, which you should never do, by the way. And I was told that if I don't read Midnight Sun now, I'm never really going to get to enjoy it. And having finished it now, I agree with that. So the Twilight movie is the next video. And for now, I hope you enjoy me losing my mind. Let's talk like adults real quick, okay? Why is this book 700 pages? How is Twilight 300 pages, but Midnight Sun is 700 pages. I'm giving in. I'm doing what the people want me to do. People's champ right here. I'm not going to watch the Twilight movie. I'm not going to go on to New Moon. I'm going to read Midnight Sun first so that I can get Edward's sick, twisted thoughts out of the way. And then I buy this fucking thing and it's 700 pages? What? There's no way that he has more than double the thoughts that Bella has. Anyways, I am starting this on September 7th at 10 p.m. We'll see how this goes. Hey, real quick, I love it. Couple things I didn't expect though. Jasper scares the shit out of me. This basically opens talking about how much he just wants to rip out the throats of everybody in the high school. Emmett is thinking about how he lost a wrestling match to Jasper the previous night, which again, scares the shit out of me given how big and aggressive Emmett is. And Rosalie is, and I'm not kidding here, just staring in a mirror thinking about how pretty she is. I don't know what I expected, but I gotta be honest with you. 2 pages in, I take back everything I said about the 700 pages. Right now, and this could change, I want all of them. I know this sounds odd, but I actually had to stop filming last night because I was having such a fun time reading this book. Just had to bring it back down to earth a little bit. And by the end of this, I'm going to have a full-ass background here too, so stay tuned. I need you to listen to something because I don't have anyone else to show this to. And I guess I'll preface this with, what the fuck?
I knew what had to happen now. The girl would have to come sit beside me, and I would have to kill her. The innocent bystanders in this classroom could not be allowed to leave, having seen what they would soon see. Even at my very worst, I had never killed innocents, and now I plan to slaughter 20 of them at once.
This is this man's reaction to smelling a woman. Edward's out of his mind. He's out of his mind. I think women are great. I'll tell you right now, I love women, but I have never met one that had features that would cause that type of thoughts to go through my head. Which brings up the obvious, right? Because you're not food to me. And that's the problem that I had with the first one. Remember when I pointed out, does he like her or is he singularly attracted to her blood? We're just right back here. I don't think he does like her. He just wants to fucking eat her. Which, by the way, in that recording, you didn't even hear that he had gripped the table so hard that he had splintered off a bunch of wood and he crushed it in his hand because their number one rule as a family is to, in his words, destroy evidence. So they're not just 100-year-old vampires. They are, by his definition, a crime syndicate. I love it. I fucking love it. What better thing is there in the world than just silly, goofy, fun murder? I really don't think I'm doing justice to how serial killerish Edward's being right now. He's building in his head how exactly he'd kill her, logistically. He's listing off where Charlie lives, how good the coverage is between his house and the neighbors. He's thinking about how Charlie works an 8-hour shift and how important that is to him because it means that he gets to take his time with Bella. Stephanie, if you ever see this, quick question. Why did you write it? Don't get me wrong. For my purposes, I love that it exists. But this is not exactly doing Edward any favors. Because how do you go from these thoughts that Edward's having and rolling this into a platonic relationship that makes sense? I'll answer that one for you. You don't. I forgot he goes to Alaska. He wanted to kill her so bad, he just goes, fuck this, I'm going to Alaska. Who the hell is Tanya? Edward's sulking on an iceberg or something, and this girl Tanya just shows up and starts hanging out with him. And for no reason whatsoever, I don't trust her. I'm on chapter 3 now, and Bella almost got hit with Tyler's van coming into the parking lot. And I have to admit, hearing this from Edward's side, the gaslighting sounds less crazy. Just all in all, right? You start to empathize with him a little bit. What he's doing is he is trying to protect his family. And I can empathize with that, even if he is the world's worst liar. He basically doesn't even try to lie. Bella was like, you weren't standing next to me. And Edward's like, yeah, I was. What kind of attempt is that? It's like a 5-year-old with paint on their hands. And you're like, did you get into the paint? And the kid's like, no. In all seriousness, though, I am loving the characters from his point of view because we get to see more of the family. And I know that we would get time with them in the other books, but seeing how they supported him through this journey as he tried to get away from Bella and not, kill an entire classroom. Emmett is not exactly what I would call supportive because he just keeps telling Edward to kind of get it over with. He's basically just like, I don't get what the big deal is. You're either going to kill her or you're not going to kill her. I mean, you got to respect that type of personality. Carlisle and Esme, though, the best supportive fake parents the world has ever seen. Stop. Edward can't hear Charlie's thoughts either. And I just realized that we never found out why Edward can't hear Bella's either. So this is a hereditary thing. Why would it be hereditary, though? What's in their bloodline? They're not like witches, are they? They're not doing that Vampire Diaries thing where it's like you got the witches, you got the vampires, you got the werewolves. No. I'm almost certain that's not happening. But something is going on. Here's the important part of access to Edward's family. It's the character building of each one individually because they are currently trying to decide whether or not to kill Bella. Tyler's van almost hits her. Edward does his thing and goes and saves her. And then she is very much aware that he wasn't standing next to her at the time. And as they see it, they only have two options, which is kill her or move away. Rosalie really wants to kill her, whereas Carlisle is trying to make the argument that it doesn't really matter that they're not living off of human blood if they're going to occasionally murder humans. Jasper's on Rosalie's side. Alice is trying to view all of the possible futures. Edward is viewing into Alice's head to see what those are. It really is just like a fun extra look into this story. I'm more and more starting to feel the appeal of this story because we didn't get any of this in Twilight, but it was all happening at that time. He is currently watching her sleep. I'm painting right now. I'm uncomfortable. He's watching her sleep and he's justifying being outside of her house by thinking about all the ways that she could die that he could protect her from. And in this insane Ted Bundy list that he put together, he legitimately listed meteorites, a possible gas leak, snakes, spiders, and scorpions, amongst other things. And it's like, Eddie, buddy, you barely know this girl's name. What the fuck are you doing? There is little that I love in this world more than Edward's unrealistic disdain for Mike Newton. Mike is a 17-year-old in high school who has literally done nothing to Edward, and Edward is a 100-year-old immortal vampire who has decided, I hate this kid with a burning passion. Can you imagine being a 104-year-old immortal vampire and being jealous of a 17-year-old in high school? I will say to that point, can you imagine better reality TV than being in Edward's position? If you could disassociate and not manage to be jealous of 17-year-olds, what better thing could you have? Do you remember how drama prone high school is? And you get to sit back and go, I know for a fact, because I live on a 100-year scale, that none of this matters. And you basically get to experience it like you're watching The Bachelor. Oh my God. I used to watch Vampire Diaries and wonder, if you were a vampire, why would you go back to high school? The answer is this. The answer is the best reality TV that could possibly exist. Nope. I have mentioned it before and I will say again, this family is a crime syndicate.
I tried the window, and it was not locked. She would never know I'd been here. What were human rules to me, after all? How many did I ignore on a daily basis? I thought of the multitude of illegal documents my family needed to live as we liked.
Not a big deal.
And then there were all the murders.
There it is.
And why should I feel guilty over one little misdemeanor? And this was hardly my first adventure with breaking and entering.
He's just in a room. He just up the window, into the room. And he goes, what's the big deal? This is not the first time I've done breaking and entering. Come on, man. One, Emmett's fighting a bear. I don't really have anything else for you on that. I just wanted to add it. Two, I got new shelves. They're a work in progress, but they're there. We're learning more and more about the family, which is nice. Jasper has friends. That's something. I feel like that's something. They may or may not have tried to kill him in the past, but nobody really cares. But ultimately, I am back to being a little creeped out by Edward. It's just, listen, I'm a man. I understand that the most people who have read this are women, but let me tell you from a man's point of view, as if the world needs more of that. First off, she openly tells him not to do stuff that he just regularly does, like touching her, picking her up, all this stuff. As a man, if a woman told me not to do those things and I continued to do them, I would be disgusted with myself. I would be disgusted watching somebody do that. More than that, I have watched somewhere between 5 to 50 Ted Bundy documentaries. Literally everything this man does is a motherfucking serial killer move. Instead of just talking to the girl, he's gathering information from everybody else. He is watching her from the shadows, literally from a tree line, watching her read a book, watching her sleep, both in her bedroom and under said tree. Having not even gone out with her, he will say things like, I am just doing this for her protection. It's because I love her. Bitch, what do you mean you love her? You're stalking her. You're literally fucking stalking her. There's things about being in Edward's head that you're like, okay, like this and this makes sense versus just reading Twilight. You know, when we only had Bella's point of view. Then there's other things that you're going, okay, Edward, I've seen how you're rationalizing this and you should be in prison. Anyways, speaking of serial killers, we found out that Edward's actually killed some in the past. I don't know if he names the guy, but on the night that he is stalking Bella and then Bella gets stalked by some other people and Edward saves Bella from the other stalkers while stalking her. Yeah, that night, Edward tells us about a time that he found a guy who had 2 girls like chained up in his basement. And Edward just like fucking destroyed that dude. And I'm all for that. It's just the other stuff that I could really do without. You guys like my shelves? Nothing's situated, but like that shit's gonna look good in a bit. We're 25% in and I have a new current favorite. Alice. Alice knows what's going to happen in the future. So she knows that Bella is going to be brought into their circle and she knows that her and Bella are going to be really good friends. So like every time before they see Bella, Alice is like, can I talk to her today? Because she knows that they're going to be friends, but she doesn't know when it's appropriate to do so because Edward's not like fully dating Bella yet. So she's like a kid waiting to have this new friend that she knows she's going to get, but Bella doesn't know. And she'll also do stuff for Bella because she's like, well, I'm going to love her in the future, even if I don't today. It's a really weird take on friendship, but it's also really endearing. Real quick, let's rate the others, though. Second place is Emmett. We haven't had much time with him yet. He's fun. He hasn't really had time to fuck anything up. Second is Carlisle. Great guy, fun backstory, love him. Then I think we have Jasper, just because his like frightening, bloodthirsty thing is curious, if not scary, but curious. Then Esme, then Rosalie. Rosalie is just... she's just kind of an asshole right now. She doesn't like anybody or anything and is very self-centered. Esme is a wonderful mom, but we haven't really had time with her in a positive or negative way. Oh, fuck. I forgot Edward. Edward. Edward's above Rosalie, but below Esme. Edward's just fucking weird right now, but he's not as outright contemptuous as Rosalie is. Official family rankings. Let's see how they change. Okay, people. Edward's definitely getting to this place where... I get it. I saw the comments from my last TikTok post. You know, a lot of people think that Edward's very whiny in this book, and I am starting to see why. And it's not fully even whininess. A lot of it is a completely unrealistic lack of confidence. She will look in his general direction, and he'll be like, do you still like me? And it's just like, bro, 100-year-old vampire. What don't you understand about this? You're jealous of a 17-year-old. How are you jealous of a 17-year-old named Mike? He just spends all this fucking time in his head going like, I don't understand how she could think that she is beneath me. Bro, what are you talking about? She's a 17-year-old high school student. You could literally date the queen. If you walked up to the queen and you were like, I am immortal, I can make you immortal. Boom. Immediate king consort. Not to mention how many times it's told us that vampires are attractive beyond belief. You could date a supermodel. I'm just ranting right now. I don't even know if I'm making sense. All I see is the Mean Girls meme in my head of going like, what are your possibilities? The limit does not exist. And yet you're worried about Bella Swan. Hey, so Edward is talking about different ways that he can save Bella because Alice keeps having these visions that like she's going to die or turn into a vampire or something. And I just want to play something for you. Just off of his short list of things that he thought would like solve this situation.
For a few moments, I thought seriously about killing myself. It was the only way I knew to be sure that the monster didn't survive.
Bitch, it's been a month. You've known this woman for a month. I'm going to play something else for you about these visions too, because it gave me the heebie-jeebies and I'm here to share with the class. Keep in mind that this is a vision that Alice is having about Bella, and let's see if you can spot what's wrong with it.
But she was different. I analyzed the changes. Bella was not a girl, but a woman. Her legs looked a little longer, as if she'd grown an inch or two, and her body had rounded subtly, giving a new curvature to her slender frame.
If you didn't catch that, let me recap. She wasn't a girl anymore. She was a woman. What does that mean? Edward, what are you saying? Are you saying that Bella right now is a girl? A child? Some might say. Huh, and she grew 2 inches. Who grows 2 inches? Why does she have the ability to grow 2 inches? Oh, because she's a child. I'm just tired. In my last video, I made a statement that Edward is a predator. A lot of you took that the wrong way. I'm not talking about like something that hunts other people. I mean, he should be on a national registry as a pedophile. And just like that, we're back. It's been about 20 pages of Edward's backstory into how he became a vampire, and I'm in love again. We're getting that insight into how he became a vampire in those early years as one, and I am just such a sucker for a vampire turning story. It's so fun, even if it is for a pedophile. And Carlisle, I'm waiting for the other foot to drop because every single time I hear his name, it is something outrageously good. He was a good son, he's a good doctor, he's a good father, he's a good friend. Eventually, something about him has to be bad, and given all of the other good, whatever it is, I'd let it slide. I miss Jacob. It took me entirely too long into this to realize that I'm not going to get any time with him because everything is from Edward's point of view, and Edward doesn't really have interactions with him. And similarly with Charlie, I've heard his name a couple times, but I don't think I've even had a single line of dialogue. And I've got like half of this book to go. I'm trying not to focus on the negative. After this video got over 100,000 views, if you didn't watch it, it was basically me pouring my heart out for this book. But here's the deal. The beginning of this book is incredible. You do get time with Edward in other people's heads, and you're like, oh, this is his life all of the time. He just gets to hear the most intimate thoughts these people are having. What happens after that I've noticed is he basically just sucks his own dick. I can word that better. He is very self-masturbatorial in the emotions that he feels. There's a sentence I bet you never thought you'd hear. He just drones on and on about the negativity, right? About the negativity with Bella, the negativity of his past, the negativity of his thoughts. And you get done with one cycle of them, and then Bella looks at him a certain way, or one of his siblings look at him a certain way, and then he's like, oh, I'm gonna start this track at the beginning. And unfortunately, that's why it's 700 pages, because you would assume that the length would be similar to Twilight. And then again, coming into this book, you would assume, okay, well, if it's double the size of Twilight, maybe that's because you get double the amount of information. Nope, you get the same information repeated. So while I do think that this story is more intriguing from his point of view because he's a vampire, like it's going to be more intriguing than a human's thoughts. I mean, man, I'm not really on board with the execution at this point. I think it's kind of gone downhill since the beginning. Which, by the way, is why I don't have a lot of updates for you. You don't know this, but the book is like 25 hours in audio. I haven't updated you in 6 hours worth of listening time because nothing new is happening. He's not saying anything that we don't already know. And there's only so many times I can really hammer home the pedophile thing. There is nothing that I love more than a vampire ripper's backstory. When that good, clean vampire is like, I used to kill people. And you're like, yeah, I bet you did. Tell me about it. Don't leave out any details. Were there women and children involved? Old people? Did you kill them just for fun? Yeah, I bet you feel bad about it, don't you, buddy? Reminisce on that with me. Talk to me. I mean, you watching this video right now, name me something better than that. What are you gonna name? Something stupid like your kid being born? Maybe that is nice, but how you feel about that is how I feel about Stefan being the Ripper of Monterey and Edward hunting down rapists and murderers. I've said it once, I'll say it a million times. The best part about this book, and look at me, I'm finding positives right now. Who the fuck is gonna sit here and call me a negative Nancy? Every time I turn on this camera, I bring you good news. Anyways, the best part of the story is the insight to the Cullens. Didn't get that in Twilight, and what we just got to listen to was the treaty conversation between Carlisle and the Blacks. Not the original one, but when they returned to Forks, he called Mr. Black and was like, hey, I'm him, and I'm moving in your backyard. And Mr. Black, I don't remember his first name, he's scared shitless. He's just yesing and knowing on the phone. Carlisle is like, do you remember what the treaty is? And he's like, yes. Here's my coordinates. Don't get within 5 miles of this shit. It's not actually what he says. He's very polite. And Mr. Black is so scared that he just is like, I don't want to meet with you. I don't want to talk to you. Don't kill my kids. And Carlisle's like, I'm not going to kill your kids. But Mr. Black doesn't believe him. So he ends up hanging up the phone. And it's basically like, I don't know what to do because my kids are not going to believe that vampires exist. And that's a good call because I wouldn't believe that vampires exist. Anyways, I love those moments. I love the stuff in the past because quite frankly, the stuff in the past is more compelling than the stuff now. And there it is. That's me being negative. Goodbye. Here's the deal. I wasn't fully paying attention. And when I zoned back in, Bella was yelling at Charlie that she wasn't going to make the same mistakes that her mom made. And I hate it. I fucking hate that scene so much. And I'm not going to lie to you. If I had been paying attention up to it, I'd have skipped this scene. I didn't need to listen to it a second time. I didn't need to listen to it the first time, but you kind of have to go through it, you know what I mean? And I've also been eating hot wings and my mouth is just on fucking fire and everything about this situation sucks. Hear me out. When Tracker Man and his stupid friends show up to the baseball game in the forest, I now have confirmation reading this book that Edward knows what's in that guy's head. He's a super tracker. That's all he lives and breathes and cares about. And he wants to murder Bella. And for some reason, they didn't gang up and kill them at that time. I mean, it's 7 versus 3 here. Like, even if 2 of them stood back to protect Bella, like, it's 5 on 3, and you have Emmett. Why dangle how strong and manly Emmett is in front of me if I don't ever get to see him used? I mean, if you're Edward and you care about protecting Bella more than anything else in the world, I just don't understand why you don't take care of that problem then and there. Because the millisecond that they leave that field, Edward is like, we have to get you the hell out of here. Like, I'm taking you, I'm kidnapping you. And Bella then freaks out, then she's like, Charlie's going to call the FBI if you do this. And it's just, God, it makes more sense to have handled that in the field at the time. I really don't know how many times I can say this to you guys. This family is a fucking crime syndicate. They just seem to break so many laws without thinking twice about it. To some extent, I get it. If I was 104 years old and the love of my life was kidnapped and being tortured in some ballet studio somewhere, I would steal a car too as well. But we're also at the point where, like, the family is running a mother in her minivan off of the road because they want to steal her car in particular. We weren't told that in Twilight, but in the process of saving Bella, they've stolen like 3 cars and threatened a lot of people. I also think they burned down a ballet studio. That was them, right? That wasn't James. Anyways, we are wrapping up. I don't really expect any new information because Bella gets saved and then they go to prom and then the book ends. And we've already seen all of that from Bella's point of view, so this may be the last clip. I have finished the book and I like Twilight more. I think really this just comes down to expectations, right? With Twilight, I didn't have any expectations going into it. And then with Midnight Sun, I was told, well, it's a retelling of it from Edward's point of view, which is completely true. However, the length is the thing that got me, as I've talked about a lot in these clips. With as long as this book is, 700 pages, I expected the world to open up a lot more. And although we got some information, like we got Edward going to Alaska and him talking to that girl who I don't remember her name, and we definitely got more backstory on some characters, but not enough to justify the page length. So it teeters on this, like, it's not a 50-50, it's more like a 60-40 of having to finish the book and wanting to finish the book. Having finished it now, I can say that this book was 40% fun and enjoyment, just like the original Twilight was, and then 60% a burden. I love the new information we got. I didn't love the time it took to receive it. And you know the weirdest thing that stands out to me, above anything else in this, it's learning how much Jessica sucks. I don't know if you even remember who Jessica is. I didn't mention her in a single clip in the first book. She's the girl who Bella basically hangs out with the entire time after she gets to Forks. They go do things. They go to dinner. They go shopping. And in Twilight, you're sitting here like, oh, I'm really glad that the new girl, Bella, got a friend. And in Midnight Sun, you hear her inner thoughts, and this bitch is so jealous and petty. Sorry, I didn't mean that. You shouldn't refer to women as bitches. She's not a bitch because she's a woman. She's a bitch because she's acting like a bitch. I think you know what I'm saying. We're on the same page. But she would just get so jealous anytime Bella would get invited somewhere or be mad that she was there. She wanted to completely ditch her on that shopping trip that they went on. Other than that, you got my thoughts throughout this. I'm still not going to rate this book or probably the entire series. The only thing I can tell you is what I feel inside, which is that I want to read New Moon so badly. I wish I could start it today, but I don't allow myself to do that because I don't want questions answered from the first movie by reading the second book. As I'm recording this, I haven't watched Twilight yet, so I just don't want any spoilers that could happen. Movie next, then New Moon. I love this series so much. I love how chaotic and insane it is. I love that Stephanie Meyer wrote this with her whole chest and was like, this is a good idea. You have to understand, she called her agent at one point and was like, this is what I'm doing. And without question, her agent was on board because this was a 7-figure payday for both of them. Which also, I'm trying to wrap this up, but in the process of buying these books, I saw there's like 2 other novellas. One of them's written from the opposite sex's point of view. There's a novella about a vampire that lived for like 30 minutes. What the fuck is this world? It feels so unhinged. Almost more unhinged than this video is. Thank you so much for being here. Like, share, comment, all the things. It helps it push it to the algorithm. You know how it is. So thank you. Bye.